Hey, everybody. Welcome to Reading the Bible to Cats. Guster just turned his face, but that's okay. He'll probably turn back around. Anyway, welcome. We're on 2 Samuel chapter 12, and we'll read that one. Okay, let's pounce on it. Okay. And I'm reading from the Complete Jewish Bible. Adonai sent Nathan, or Nathan. Well, let me start over. I think I'll pronounce it. It's spelled Natan, Natan, but I think I'll just say Nathan because I'm going to get hung up on that. Okay, take two. Adonai sent Nathan to David. He came and said to him, "In a certain city there were two men, one rich, the other poor. The rich man had vast flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing except for one little ewe lamb, which he had bought and reared. It had grown up with him and his children. It ate from his plate, drank from his cup, lay on his chest. It was like a daughter to him." One day, a traveler visited the rich man, and instead of picking an animal from his own flock or herd to cook for his visitor, he took the poor man's lamb and cooked it for the man who had come to him. David exploded with anger against the man and said to Nathan, "As Adonai lives, the man who did this deserves to die. For doing such a thing, he has to pay back 4 times the value of the lamb, and also because he had no pity." Nathan said to David, "You are the man. Here is what Adonai, the God of Israel, says: I anointed you king over Israel. I rescued you from the power of Saul. I gave you your master's house and your master's wives to embrace. I gave you the house of Israel and the house of Judah. And if that had been too little, I would have added to you a lot more. So why have you shown such contempt for the word of Adonai and done what I see as evil? You murdered Uriah the Hittite with the sword and taken his wife as your own wife. You put him to death with the sword of the people of Ammon. Now, therefore, the sword will never leave your house, because you have shown contempt for me and taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite as your own wife. Here's what Adonai says: I will generate evil against you out of your own household. I will take your wives before your very eyes and give them to your neighbor. He will go to bed with your wives, and everyone will know about it. For you did it secretly, but I will do this before all Israel in broad daylight." David said to Nathan, "I have sinned against Adonai." Nathan said to David, "Adonai has also taken away your sin. You will not die. However, because by this act you have so greatly blasphemed Adonai, the child born to you must die." Then Nathan returned to his house. Adonai struck the child that Uriah's wife had borne to David, and it became very ill. David prayed to God on behalf of the child. David fasted, then came and lay all night on the ground. The court officials got up and stood next to him, trying to get him off the ground, but he refused and he wouldn't eat food with them. On the 7th day, the child died. The servants of David were afraid to tell him that the child was dead because they said, "While the child was still alive, we spoke to him and he didn't listen to us. If we tell him now that the child is dead, he may do harm. He may do himself some harm." But when David saw his servants whispering to each other, he suspected that the child was dead. David asked his servants, "Is the child dead?" And they answered, "He is dead." Then David got up off the ground, washed, anointed himself, and changed his clothes. He went into the house of Adonai and worshipped. Then he went to his own palace, and when he asked for food, they served it to him, and he ate. His servants asked him, "What are you doing? You fasted and wept for the child while it was alive, but now that the child is dead, you get up and eat food?" He answered, "While the child was still alive, I fasted and wept because I thought maybe Adonai will show his grace to me and let the child live. But now that he's dead, why should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I will go to him, but he will not return to me." David comforted his wife Bathsheba, came to her and went to bed with her, and gave birth to a son, and named him Shlomo, Solomon. Adonai loved him, and sent through Nathan the prophet to have him named Yedidiah. Everybody, it is I who speaking, not the Bible. I cannot pronounce that Hebrew name. Oh, let me try again. Yedidiah, loved by God, for Adonai's sake. Joab fought against Rabbah of the people of Ammon and took the royal city. Joab sent people to David with this message: "I have fought against Rabbah and captured its water supply. Therefore, assemble the rest of the people, lay siege to the city and capture it. Otherwise, I will capture the city, and it will be named after me." David assembled all the people, went to Rabbah, fought against it, and captured it. He took the crown off Malcolm's head. It weighed 66 pounds with its gold and precious stones, and it was placed on David's head. He carried off great quantities of spoil from the city. In addition, he expelled the people who were in it and set them to work with saws, iron harrows, and iron axes, or had them cross over to work in the brick factory. This is what he did to all the cities of the people of Ammon. Then David and all the people returned to Jerusalem. Okay, everybody, that is the end of 2 Samuel 12. Sorry, I'm kind of stumbling over my words today. I don't know why. But anyway, this passage, I have often thought about this passage in my life, and you as animal lovers may know why. I love this. I mean, it's sad. Of course, it's weird to say I love it because poor Uriah is, you know, but I like that God held King David accountable. I mean, we know King David is a man after God's own heart, is chosen king, like a type of Messiah, a foreshadowing of the Messiah. And indeed, the Messiah comes through King David's line, and in fact, through the union of Bathsheba and King David, Jesus, he comes from that, Yeshua, the Messiah. But so I like that. I like that God didn't just gloss things over, because it's like, ew, when we read about it, I don't know. But it's so interesting how Nathan confronts him. But the reason I love it, and I think you might know, because I read the Bible to cats and I love animals. But it's like poor Uriah, Nathan's little story about this man, he had nothing except for one little ewe lamb. And this really touched King David's heart. He didn't know it was talking about him, but he obviously felt a lot for this man and his little ewe lamb, but even though it was him and he didn't realize it. But anyway, yeah, verse 3, but the poor man had nothing except for one little ewe lamb, which he had bought and reared. It had grown up with him and his children. It ate from his plate, drank from his cup, lay on his chest. It was like a daughter to him. I love that. I love that the Bible has that, you know, and that the prophet chose to employ this imagery, in order to strike at King David's heart so he can kind of see what he did, you know. But anyway, isn't that a sad, sweet story, the little ewe lamb? I mean, of course, he's really talking about his wife. I mean, the ewe lamb is Uriah's wife, and it's Uriah. But I mean, the whole idea is that there's this story in the Bible about a little ewe lamb who was like a daughter to this man. Of course, not a real. I mean, it's using imagery, but the little ewe lamb was like a daughter to him, and he ate from his plate, drank from his cup, lay on his chest. He was just like a daughter. Um, of course, we know what the story's about, but I love that. So when we have our little furry family members who are like sons and daughters to us, and other people might say, "Oh, you're babifying that creature. You shouldn't love your animals like they're your babies or your children or your daughters or your sons." Because I think some people do think that. It's like you can point them to this passage. Anyway, let's move on. It kind of gives, but it doesn't it kind of give us permission to love our pets like like they're our own children too. I think so. Um, and so what if your kitty drinks from your cup or eats from your plate or lays on your chest and is like a little daughter or a son to you? I mean, here it is in the Bible. Anyway, moving on. The other thing that really sticks out to me is when the child dies, when King David's child dies, he says, after he dies, and I'm looking for it. Sorry, I'm just looking to see where. Yeah, verse 23. King David says, "But now that he's dead, why should I fast? Can I bring him back again?" And here, this is what stands out to me. "I will go to him, but he will not return to me." So to me, that speaks of that he will be reunited with his son, the baby, because he will go to him. He's not going to return to him, but when King David dies, he will go to his lost baby, his lost child, and in the afterlife, he will be reunited with him. That's what it speaks to. At least that's what I think it speaks of. Um, okay, and that's kind of what stands out to me. But if you have any thoughts about it, feel free to share them in the comments. And I'm going to say a prayer, and then I think I'm going to record a couple more videos. Um, but yeah, I um I will give you a little. I mean, this is a total non sequitur and has nothing to do with the Bible or anything. But since I've been eating broccoli sprouts every day, like a little clump of broccoli sprouts and microgreens, like a little salad, and a little bit of that natto, the Japanese superfood, I really have more energy. I really do. Maybe you hear it in my voice. I hope so. But yeah, and I've also been doing squats, just like 5 squats, sometimes after I eat something starchy or, full of carbs or maybe sweet, I'll do 5 squats. Um, and because they say that it's good to it's good for your metabolism, in terms of glucose. Like, I don't know. Anyway, look it up. But all that to say, I have more energy. So I thank you for your prayers, and I hope that I continue to have more energy. And I really do covet your prayers because I don't know, I've needed them. I guess I'll also share one thing with you. Because throughout the history of this little channel, I kind of have been transparent about things, but I've struggled with loneliness. I've struggled with having really bad feelings in the morning, which I still kind of do. But I'm kind of thinking I need to really have secure. I mean, it's like, hello, it's Master of the Obvious strikes again. It's gonna sound. I'm making it sound like an epiphany, but when you hear it, you're gonna be like, duh. It's like, so, I don't know, but no, I feel like I need to really, really have a heart knowingness, a heart knowledge of my identity in God. What my who I am in God. And where I might find my true identity. You know, because sometimes in life, we kind of I think our identity sometimes as we're growing up can come from our father. And I really didn't I had a very absent father. I mean, my parents were divorced when I was 8, and I really didn't I never felt loved by my dad. I mean, I really struggled to feel loved, period. Um, but and I still do, to be honest. But that's why I have to like feel get that identity, that sense of identity and belonging. I need that to come from God. And so that's my what I've been thinking about. And then I think that'll bring security, more internal security and a sense of purpose. Okay, well, I just shared a lot. Oh man, well, let's say a prayer and then I guess I'll make a couple more videos. Lord, I thank you for everybody who tunes into this little channel, watches or listens. We thank you for this story in 2 Samuel. Of course, it's a heartbreaking story, Lord. But yet, I'm glad that you held King David accountable, because otherwise it would have been kind of icky. But I'm also grateful that the Messiah came through that union. Like what was meant for evil, or was, really sinful, you turned it around and brought life out of that. The Messiah, Jesus. So Lord, I don't know, just give us wisdom as we work our way through the Bible. And I pray for understanding and wisdom, Lord. Pray for peace. We know that the Prince of Peace will return, Sar Shalom. And until that time, the world won't have true peace. But you promise to give us peace as we trust in you. So I pray for that for myself, Lord. Pray for the hostages to be healed from their trauma. Thank you that they have been set free and our prayers have been answered. Pray for the families who are grieving the loss of their loved ones. Pray for the protection of Israel and for the peace of Jerusalem, which will come in fullness when Jesus returns, when Messiah returns. I pray, Lord, for anyone suffering in Gaza or in animals or in, I don't know, just comfort people who are brokenhearted wherever they may be found, Lord. And I pray for myself, Lord. I pray for a sense of purpose and an awareness of my identity in you, because I think that's been kind of lacking. So and I pray all these things in Yeshua HaMashiach's name, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, everybody. I will talk to you soon because I'm going to try and make another video. Okay. Bye.